Hello, BookTube. I've once again slacked off on the mail. Very sorry about that. I fell into the habit of opening mail off camera and just wallowing in it myself. I need to fall back into the habit of opening it on camera so that you can see it too. So let's go through uh, today's mail and at least try to catch up. And one of the things is opened off camera. It's the new Penguin Classic. It's Conversations with Goethe. Just a big collection of, well, anyway, let's see here. By the turn of the 19th century, the poet, novelist, and thinker, Goethe, was one of the most famous people in the world. By 1823, he became a friend and mentor with young writer Johann Eckermann, who, for the last 9 years of Goethe's life, recorded their wide-ranging conversations on art, literature, science, and philosophy, now in its first new translation in over 150 years. This is a nice, big, fat thing that is probably as close a thing to humanizing Goethe as you're going to get. And then we have the books, the packages, including an enormous box at the end that I don't think is from one of you. I think it's actually from a publisher. It's very heavy, though, so it's probably more than one book. Let's see what the first one is here. It's a finished copy. That's what I want. I want October finished copy. Oh my. Okay, this is a November book. This is November 1st. This is by Robert Harris, and it's called The Devil's Blaze. Sherlock Holmes in 1943. Wow. So, set in London during World War II, when you'd think that Holmes would be long dead. This is a thrilling murder mystery where the world's greatest detective must uncover the truth behind a seemingly impossible series of high-profile assassinations. Across the city, prominent figures in science and the military are bursting into flames and being incinerated. Convinced that the Germans have deployed a new terror weapon, a desperate government turns to the one man who can track down the source of the dreadful menace, Sherlock Holmes. The quest for a solution drives Holmes into an uneasy alliance with the country's most brilliant scientific genius, Professor James Moriarty. Only Holmes knows the truth behind the facade of his respectability. Moriarty is the mastermind of a vast criminal empire. Still he is? So not only did Sherlock Holmes survive all the way to World War II, but Moriarty survived Reichenbach Falls all the way to World War II and is still in control of his empire? As they together pursue the trail of incendiary murders, Holmes is quite sure that Moriarty is playing a double game, and that there lies ahead a duel of death from which they will both not survive. Okay, all right. The author lives in Scotland and studied at the University of St. Andrews, and this comes out on November 1st, which I assume is a Tuesday. I want to know everything about it. I imagine is there like an author's preface where he sets out. Yeah, there's a preface, so he will set out what is going on here, because if Sherlock Holmes is a man in his mid-30s to early 40s in the 1880s, then he's going to be and Moriarty's older than he is. So, well, we'll see. I'm always up for a Sherlock Holmes story. So, The Devil's Blaze. All right, good. We're off to a fine start. This next one, not a finished copy, but let's see what we have here. Is this an invoice? Oh, no, it is. Gross. All right, so what have we got here? This is, oh, great. Fantastic. So, okay, so I got an invoice on this thing, but I don't have any information on it. It looks like this is a finished paperback, so it'll be $18. It's from the University of Wisconsin Press, and it is Remember This, a new novel by Steve Adams. Lovely cover there. Let's see here. John Martin, a talented graphic designer employed as a word processor for a prestigious New York investment bank, has happily left behind Texas and his alcoholic, emotionally absent mother. It is the height of the personal computer revolution and the AIDS epidemic, and the gentrification is sweeping the city. Alina Marino, John's supervisor, is an Italian immigrant who shares his hustle and grit, aggressively building a new life for herself. As their affair begins, John imagines himself as the perfect lover for Alina, fulfilling her desire without expectation that she leave her husband. But when his oldest sister arrives in town unannounced, he is forced to confront his damaged past and serial history of relationships with stunningly gorgeous, emotionally complex women. Stunningly gorgeous, emotionally complex, and utterly deceitful. She is breaking her marriage vow. I guess we're supposed to just let that go, but she is. She's worthless. John's journey to understand the roots of his compulsion to save those around him is both aided and thwarted by his relationship with his colleague, Jeremy Crawford. Alina's closest confidant, Jeremy shares an intimacy with her that fuels John's jealousy. Meanwhile, Jeremy finds himself drawn to John, and as his confidant too, participates in the drama of John and Alina's relationship. As John slowly begins to recognize the flawed and wounded experience of love that has followed him through his life, he learns how to open himself to true friendship and true loss. Okay, that sounds fantastic. It sounds also grown up, which is not the usual thing that I encounter when I'm talking about contemporary fiction. Okay, well, all I need to know then is when this comes out. It looks like a finished copy, so this could be out already or out this month. As a paperback, though, Remember This by Steve Adams. All right, let's forge ahead here. This next one. The next one is in one of these white envelopes, but whatever's in it is so big that it was bursting the envelope. Oh, great. Okay, this is the finished copy of something we've already seen. This is by Realigners by Timothy Schenck. And here I have, since I have the finished copy, I have what he looks like, and he's very young. This is Partisan Hacks, Political Visionaries, and the Struggle to Rule American Democracy. Realigners. Another very good cover. This is a bucolic pastoral scene. And the title and all of the subtitle and the author's name are all U.S. campaign buttons. Very good. So this, I believe, is an October release, yes? Yes, this is an October finished copy. With this book, the George Washington University historian and Dissent magazine co-editor delivers an incisive and sweeping history of American politics as told through the moments when new majorities and movements emerged, and through the stories of the people who helped to forge them. Tracing the ebb and flow of American democracy from the late 1700s to the present day, the author is equally authoritative writing about James Madison or Martin Van Buren as he is about Phyllis Schlafly or Donald Trump. Wow, okay. So this is all about people who changed American democracy instead of going with the flow. And I have the advanced copy that I haven't got to, so this is top of the list. This would be read tonight. Read and heavily annotated, I imagine, tonight. All right, let's just keep going here. This next one has a pull tab that is molecularly merged with the envelope. You can't even detach it. So I'll just tear the thing open by main force. Let's see here. All right. Just have to rip the thing open by main force. So that's just what have we got here? Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. And this one does have a pub sheet. This is from the great folks at W.W. Norton. This is from next year. This is in February. This is The Hacker's Mind by Bruce Schneier, who is, the pub sheet anyway, describes him as a legendary cybersecurity expert and New York Times bestselling author. He wrote a book called Data and Goliath, which I did not read. Did any of you read that? I don't know. I'm assuming that that was the bestseller. He reveals how using a hacker's mindset can change how you think about your life and the world. A hacker's mind takes hacking out of the world of computing and uses it to analyze the systems that underpin our society, from tax laws to financial markets to politics. The author reveals an array of powerful actors whose hacks bend our economic, political, and legal system to their advantage at the expense of everyone else. Okay. A hack is any means of subverting a system's rules in unintended ways. The tax code isn't computer code, but its thousands of pages contain a series of formulas. It has vulnerabilities. We call them loopholes. We call exploits tax avoidance strategies, and there is an entire industry of black hat hackers intent on finding exploitable loopholes in the tax code. We call them accountants and tax attorneys. Oh, this is kind of interesting. This is kind of intriguing. Unchecked, these hacks threaten to upend our financial markets, weaken our democracy, and even affect the way we think. And when artificial intelligence starts thinking like a hacker at inhuman speed and scale, the results could be catastrophic. Ooh, brought in artificial intelligence at the end there for the win. Okay, great. Okay, a hacker's mind. Disturbing, but I don't have to think about it until next year. And then the box, which is, like I mentioned, it's huge, it's heavy. I don't think there's a single book that fits this bill that would be this big. I'd be overjoyed if it were, especially for a doorstopper Doom. But I bet this is more than one book. Let's just get rid of all the stuff that's in here. Another invoice? Oh God, it is. I keep touching invoices. Yeah, there's more than one book in here. There are plenty of books in here. Okay, so what have we got here? Yeah, we've got a whole bunch to look at. That's fantastic. I love my job. The first one is by Maria Golia. This is A Short History of Tomb Raiding, the Epic Hunt for Egypt's Treasures. How interesting. Tomb raiding was happening even during, the huge span of ancient Egypt. It isn't by any means a 19th century phenomenon. To secure a comfortable afterlife, the ancient Egyptians had built fortress-like tombs and filled them with precious goods, a practice that generated staggering quantities of artifacts over the course of many millennia, but that also, from the beginning, attracted theft. Drawing on modern scholarship, reportage, and period sources, this book tracks the history of treasure seekers in Egypt and the social context in which they operated, revealing striking continuities throughout time. Readers will recognize the foibles of today's politicians and con artists, the perils of materialism, and the cycles of public compliance and dissent in the face of injustice. In describing an age-old pursuit and its timeless motivations, this book shows how much we have in common with our Bronze Age ancestors. This is a history of tomb raiding. Fantastic. What else have we got in here? Oh, it's him again. Okay, this next one is by, these are all the same people, right? This has got to be from the same people, the same publisher. This next one is William Doyle. It's called Napoleon at Peace, How to End a Revolution. Little spoiler, Napoleon never looked like that. Maybe a little in the face, but not without hair. Anyway, the French Revolution facilitated the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, but after gaining power, he knew that his first task was to end it. In this book, the author describes how Napoleon did so, beginning with the three large issues that had destabilized the revolutionary France: war, religion, and the monarchy. Doyle shows how, as first consul to the Republic, Napoleon resolved these problems, first by winning the war, then by forging peace with the church, and finally by making himself a monarch. Okay. All right, great. A slim Napoleon study. Haven't had many of those. None, that as far as I know, this year. So this will be the first one, the first time this year reading about the pestiferous little Corsica. Okay, all right. I don't have pub sheets for any of these, but that's all right. This next one is also finished. These could all be October finished copies. I might have got the bonanza of my wish. This is by Jeremy Meyerson and Philip Ross, and it is called Unworking: The Reinvention of the Modern Office. So, in a way, a COVID book. COVID and the so-called Great Resignation. It makes me automatically curious. Did your workplace change because of COVID? Did you start remote working, and have you gone back? Would you go back? Just endlessly fascinating. All these books all touch on questions that I would ask you if I were invited to your house. If Frida and I came to your house, I would bombard you with nosy personal questions. Let's see what we have here. Over the past 100 years, the office has been integral to the development of modern society. It has shaped the architecture of our cities, the behavior of our organizations, and everyday movements of millions of people. It's absolutely true. I mean, whole commuter lines that exist only to get people from their homes to their offices. If they can do that work at home, those lines don't have customers anymore. To mention just one thing. In 2020, however, the global COVID-19 pandemic brought our attendance at the office to an abrupt halt and triggered a complete reevaluation of the purpose of the workplace. This book offers a panoramic view of the office and explores what happens next. The authors advance a manifesto for unworking, unlearning old habits and rituals established for an outdated office and creating new ones fit for an age of digital technology, design innovation, and diverse workforces. Interesting. I spent a lot more time in offices before COVID-19 than I do now, obviously, so it's going to be personally interesting to me. Oh, the rest of these books are mosaicked on the bottom of the box, so I had to just burst them out. All right, let's see. We have 2 more to go here. This next one is, oh goodness gracious. Okay, this one is by Alan Jameson, and it is called Out of the Depths, A History of Shipwrecks. Look at that. What a cover. Let's see here. This book explores all aspects of shipwrecks across 4,000 years, examining their historical context and significance, and showing how shipwrecks can be time capsules that shed new light on long-departed societies and civilizations. Although shipwrecks have become less common in recent decades, their implications have become more wide-ranging. Since the 1960s, foundering supertankers have caused massive environmental disasters, and in 2021, the blocking of the Suez Canal by the giant container ship Ever Given had a serious impact on global trade. You could just watch it on satellite imagery. You just watch this thing day after day, stuck athwart the Suez Canal with traffic piling up and no goods being delivered. In this book, the author not only informs readers of the technological developments over the last 60 years that have made the true appreciation of shipwrecks possible. You have to find them and then get to them. But covers shipwrecks in cultural and maritime archaeology, as well as treasure hunters in their environmental impacts. Once again, tons and tons of Steve Nosy questions. Any of you out there scuba divers? Have any of you out there ever dived a wreck? Be curious to know. And then, oh my, all right. And then the last one we have here. No sheets for any of this. This is by Robin Vos, and it is the Index of Prohibited Books. 4 centuries of struggle over word and image for the greater glory of God. The Index of Prohibited Books. For more than 400 years, the Catholic Church's Index Librorum Prohibitorum struck terror into the hearts of authors, publishers, and booksellers around the world, while arousing ridicule and contempt from many others. Biased, inconsistent, and frequently absurd in its attempt to ban texts of every description, with sometimes fatal consequences, the Index also reflected the deep learning of hundreds of contributors over the centuries of its evolution. Remember that I've ever read a history of the Index. This book constitutes the first full study of the Index of Prohibited Books to be published in English. It examines the reasons behind the Church's attempt to censor religious, scientific, and artistic works, and considers not only why this most sustained of campaigns failed, but what lessons can be learned for today's debates over freedom of expression and cancel culture. I'm not going to go on a rant. I'm not going to go on a rant about canceled authors and the attempts to cancel books in the 21st century. The only thing I will say, I will gently point out that the people who do that kind of thing in 2022 believe that the people who did this for the Index for the Catholic Church were the bad guys. The people who are doing the exact same thing believe that the people who most famously did it were the bad guys, are bad guys in history. That dissonance is all I will comment on. All right, so that was a mail haul. That was quite good. The Index of Prohibited Books, a history of the Catholic Church's Index. Out of the Depths, a new history of shipwrecks, how to find them, and what cost, what they are, what they do, what they're like in the 21st century. Unworking, where the authors these are all reaction books, where the authors put forward, they examined the role of the office. Obviously, it would be 10 times as long if they did that comprehensively. But they want also to put forward a new idea, an idea of unworking, where let's just drop the idea and rework the idea of the office, rather than you just putting on your hat, kissing your kids goodbye, and leaving on the 8:45 for Scarsdale. Then Napoleon at Peace, where he dismantles the revolution that swept him into power. A short history of tomb raiding, which really is a subtitle. that ought to be the subtitle of the book. And the title, I'm sure, is readily available early on in the book. Something evocative, something pretty good like Unworking. We could do better than Out of the Depths, which is a cliche. But the Index of Prohibited, most of these have subtitles where they should have titles. Then we have A Hacker's Mind, which sounds like it's a lot about taxes rather than about computers. Then Realigners, the finished copy of Realigners about political bomb throwers. Remember This, a new novel by Steve Adams, I think probably an original paperback. And finally, The Devil's Blaze by Robert J. Harris. A new Sherlock Holmes book set during World War II and co-starring Professor Moriarty. So it's The Devil's Blaze instead of Silver Blaze. I'll take it, definitely. And these are all, I believe, with one exception. We had one for November. November 1st is basically an October release. Other than that, I bet these are all October releases. So I've got a lot of reading to do. My TBR has been completely revamped, which is what I love about the mail, one of the many things. So I'll wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.